For this lesson, we're going to add and subtract unlike fractions. So far, we've already had a denominator the same. Now we're going to have to work to make that denominator the same before we add or subtract. So this is going to sort of put together everything that we've already learned how to do. We know that we're going to start by looking at our denominators of 15 and 5. Those are not the same. So now I have to find my least common denominator of 15 and 5, which is of course just the least common multiple. So 15 is 3 times 5, and 5 is just 5. So my least common denominator would be 3 times 5, which is 15. So 4/15 gets to stay exactly the same, but I need 5 to turn into 15, so I need to multiply it by 3, and I will do that on top and on bottom. So 1 times 3 is 3, and 5 times 3 is 15. Now that both of my fractions have the same number of parts, I can add the parts. So 4 plus 3 is 7/15. For part B, I have a lot going on. I've got 9 and I have 3 and I have this whole number over here, which is a little bit crazy. So we're going to forget about the whole number for a minute and focus on these two. So if I want 5/9 and 1/3 to have the same denominator, that least common denominator would be 3. So I'm going to take this times 3 on top and on bottom to make that plus 3/9, and I still have minus 2, but I'm really just going to focus on this first. So 5/9 plus 3/9 is 8/9, and now I have minus 2. We haven't dealt with a question like this yet where we have a whole number, but remember that my whole number of 2 is 2 over 1. Now I'm going to follow the same steps. I want 1 and 9 to be the same number. So I have to take 1 times 9, so I'm going to have to take 2 times 9. So my new question is 8/9 minus 18/9, because 2 times 9 was 18. And of course, if I would like, I would leave change opposite or keep flip change. 8 plus negative 18 is negative 10/9, which is fine for your answer, or negative 1 and 1/9 is the other correct solution for that question. These are the same idea, but of course they involve variables as well. So same idea, 3xy and 6x. So 3 times x times y, and 6 is 2 times 3 times x. In order to make these the same, I need 1, 2, I need 1, 3, I need 1 x, and I need 1 y. So that's 6xy should be my denominator for both of my fractions. So to turn this into 6xy, I would have to multiply by 2, do that on top and on bottom. So that's 14 over 6xy. And to turn 6x into 6xy, I would have to multiply it by y. So take top and bottom times y. Now I have 14 and I have y. Are 14 and y like terms? No, because 14 doesn't have a y, and obviously y does. So my answer would just be 14 plus y over 6xy. I couldn't simplify this any further because they are not like terms. For my second question, again, I'm going to multiply to make that denominator the same. So the denominator right now is x, and of course x squared. So my least common denominator would be 2 x's. This one's okay just as it is, but I would have to take this times x to make it x squared. So that gives me 12x over x squared minus 5 over x squared. Just like we did in this question, 12x and 5 are not like terms, so I'm going to write them together as my numerator and put it over x squared as my denominator. So that's my final answer. Again, for these questions, we're looking for a common denominator. For my first, my least common denominator would be 6xy squared, because they really didn't have anything in common, which means I would have to take y squared times 6x, so top and bottom times the same thing. I would have to take 6x times y squared, so top and bottom times the same thing. That changes my question into 6 times 5, or 30x, over 6xy squared plus 2 times y squared, or 2y squared, over 6xy squared. And 30x and 2y squared, not like terms, so I'm just going to combine. That was a mess up there, don't worry about that. 30x plus 2y squared all over 6xy squared. Nothing's going to reduce or simplify. And my second, I'm going to find my least common denominator, which would be 6x squared. So 3, and this would be 2 times 3, and then 1x and 2 x's. So I would take this times 2x in order to make those work, and I wouldn't have to change the second one at all. So 2x times 7 is 14x over 6x squared, and then minus 5 over 6x squared, and those are not like terms, so I'm just going to rewrite it as my new numerator over 6x squared.